Dink.
Yeah?
I thought I told you to drop Quan Chi.
Well, that was just for Evo. Afterwards, I was...
Enough of the Quan Chi Motaro business.
But, I mean, its zoning is really good.
Dink, Quan Chi Motaro is the path to hell, down there with those Tanya Goro players.
Accept your death.
So before we get too far into this, I just want to get something off my chest because I've spent the majority of this morning on a stupid invasions node. And I'm not going to kind of spoil exactly where it is for anyone that cares about that kind of stuff, but you have to end with this cameo brutality. And you have to do, like, the last hit of this cameo move has to hit the
exactly
opponent.
What you're talking about.
Yeah. And they
Bro.
have these little green balls that are coming from both sides of the screen. And every time I get the opponent to, like, just the perfect amount of health, they get smacked with this green ball and it kills them. And I'm like, oh, I just literally spent hours on it. I had to force myself to go because we got so close so many times and the stupid green ball killed them every single time.
No, it deserves to be called out. I don't care if you care about spoilers and stuff like that. If you want that fucking katana skin or whatever and you have to do that brutality or whatever, it took me like an hour and a half of like separate sessions, right? I would try like 3 or 4 times, but I had to come back so many times for the same reason. I'm like the kind of person that puts everything into attack so I can just like jump kick and down to all the dumb AI and just like kind of like plow through it. So my Motaro projectile's doing like 30 damage. So I've got to get him to like that spot, that slow ass startup, which takes the full meter. So if you whiff it, right, if you miss it or he gets interrupted or something, you may as well just return to map and try again, right? Because like you said, those green projectiles that come from like either side and they're just like sniping him before.
I know.
I got it by pure RNG. Right, like it actually accidentally anti-aired him, and then he landed and recovered and got hit by the last one. I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ, it's over!
Nice.
Thank God."
Yeah, it still sits there, and that's probably what I'm going to do after this because it's really bugging me that I didn't get it, and I'm kind of just doing what you are doing and like hoping for good RNG because every time.
Oh, so you haven't got it yet?
No, I spent like 2 hours.
Dude,
I still haven't got it.
That's so funny that I knew exactly what you were talking about.
Like, I didn't even finish my sentence.
The precise point.
Hopefully, there's somebody out there in the comments who can kind of also feel the pain of what we're going off of. And speaking of comments, it's time that we get into comments. As always, we like to start it off with this. So let us know, post some stuff, and we'll give you our thoughts on any questions or stuff that you have. So starting with Shin Fits, that's a great name. They didn't advertise cameos in the first combat pack, so my guess is we'll have cameos with this story expansion as well. Interesting thought that I had on this one was also that they didn't advertise one cameo in general out of like kind of spoiler, which was Johnny Cage, who was listed as a cameo, who later came as Janet Cage, which I kind of guess, like, you know, they obviously didn't want to spoil anything before the game was even released, right? So like I totally get that. So I wonder if we'll get something like, what do you think, Hatyr? We're going to get something like more official, maybe? I mean, this was pretty official. There's nothing cameo related on there.
So first of all, I am in the camp that believes it was supposed to be Johnny Cage, just like Scorpion's both on the roster in a cameo and Sub-Zero, right? So he was going to be the DLC version of that, of like the repeat roster character.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But NRS has their finger on the pulse, right? They know, they saw everyone's really warm reception, like, because Janet kind of went like a little bit viral, I feel like. It was definitely like a buzz. So I think they just made some tweaks and stuff. That's my, you know, I always say like my headcanon. I don't know for sure, theory. But I kind of like to think that. But if I recall, so that same, the little screenshot at the end that has like the renders of the roster and says, congratulations, you get to pay $49.99 for all of this, whether you want it or not, right?
Right.
The launch version of that, I agree. I don't remember them ever like explicitly advertising cameos, not in the story trailer and stuff, but that little like pre-order now screen, I'm pretty sure it listed the cameos. Didn't that list the...
I think it did, yeah.
6? Yeah. So that was definitely missing from this one.
It would just be weird.
Not
to
that
me.
I think it's like a huge deal, right? And it's kind of like semantics. Who knows how they're approaching it? But I agree. It doesn't. Them not. I think the greater point is them not mentioning cameos explicitly is not necessarily indicative that they've abandoned the idea. And I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I'm thinking of maybe like a longer game plan. Like maybe this pack is all characters and the next pack is all cameos, you know, and that's how they kind of stretch it out over time.
I mean, especially if, yeah, exactly.
Which we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But thank you very much for the comment there. Appreciate you. Next one here, Body Rocker 9. Hell yeah, you guys are so creative with your names. So many better horror movie villains I could have used other than Ghostface. I'm not a horror movie fan, to be honest. My lore is very low in that department. But yeah, I've said before, Ghostface doesn't excite me. I think you had mentioned before, Hatyr, that you would like to see Pinhead as a guest character.
Pinhead would be cool. I feel like Ghostface and Pinhead are the two really big missed opportunities, and even Ash Williams of like a horror pack, like MKX era horror pack. And then like Conan and the T1000 are more of like the missed opportunities from MK11. I feel like it's a blend of those two things. So it's,
yeah,
I feel like Ghostface is fan service because, you know, whether you think it's a good one or not, people have been asking for it for a long time. Back, you know, ever since Jason was a playable character in MKX, people have been asking for Ghostface.
That's true.
Ever since we knew that was going to be a thing. We knew we were getting Jason, and then it was Predator and Alien, and it was like, holy shit, what's even happening right now?
Right.
You know, and then Ash Williams and Ghostface. NRS listens, right? They just can't do everything, right? They've got 235 fan requests, and they can make 4 of those fan bases happy or whatever, you know, it ends up evening out to be, and you know, across everything.
What if they did something silly and had like Godzilla or King Kong in it somehow, you know, like scaled them down and been like human size?
Like human size.
That's something totally NRS would do.
No, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme as Johnny Cage, but wearing a gorilla suit.
What?
And how would you buy that DLC?
Yeah, of course I would. 10
Okay,
times out of 10 I would take my money. So thank you, Body Rocker, for that comment. I wanted to kind of honestly, I just wanted to throw my opinion on throwing Godzilla in there because I think that would be super goofy. Godzilla versus Scorpion or something like that.
Give him little T-Rex arms. We could turn it into like Killer Instinct. That's one thing that's kind of sorely missing from MK Riot is like a lot of variation in like body size, body types.
That's true. You have like General Shao,
small
and, like,
people,
that's it.
large people, beasts, big beasts and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I have that a little bit, I guess. You got Farah now, who's tiny. But again, we'll get into that. Last comment here. Yas King Slay says it's ridiculous that we have to pay a whole new game price for characters, and I agree. I
Didn't I say that like a minute and a half ago?
kind of. Yep.
It's like you knew.
It's like I knew. We call that in the theater department foreshadowing. Hatyr, okay? That's what we're doing.
A little foreshadowing because he heard me yelling about it for like 20 minutes in a Discord call with a couple other people last night.
Exactly. But yeah, I do think the price is a little ridiculous for what they're giving you. And I mean, the problem is people are buying it, and as long as people are buying it, they're just going to keep doing it. You know, so I mean,
I don't think the whole thing should be a la carte, right? If we're talking about stages and story and, you know, characters and all of that sort of stuff, $50 if you want to buy like everything. But if you just want to buy the characters, even for like $10 a piece or whatever, that's the kind of like real.
Yeah, it's kind of scummy that you're not able to buy everything kind of individually, because I'll never play Conan or Ghostface or T1000. I might try Sector. I
agree, but you know you're going to want access to them, right? People like us are going to want access because we're going to need to like lab against it and, you know, things like that. No, if you need access to it for a matchup, and you never know what's going to, you know, tickle your funny bone when it comes to a character. I don't know how many characters I've just dismissed, been really close-minded about until I like, actually sat down with them for a few minutes, and I was like, this is actually super mad fun.
If only we had an online practice mode so we didn't have to buy the characters and lab with a friend who owns the character. Oh,
yeah, maybe that's why we don't have it. Yeah, Warner Brothers might lose $175.25 if they did that. So, or
Right.
that's why we don't have online practice, maybe.
How dare
But,
they?
you know, I do feel like on a consumer level, you know, all other things considered, I'm spending $49.99 to, you know, give Noob Saibot the old college try and then dabble with Sector and Cyrex a little bit and then never use the other ones except for what I was just talking about, you know, like labbing and things like that. But you never know. They could end up being like super cool. I usually don't like guest characters. I feel like Homelander has like this weird stiffness to him that I think that Spawn also had to me in MK11, and I can't quite explain it, but I feel like it's a guest character thing. Peacemaker to a degree, but not as bad as Homelander feels to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just like the transition of getting them into this particular game. Just they can't. I definitely know what you mean. I didn't really feel it with Spawn as much, but I mean, Spawn played MK11 really well, so I mean, maybe that was part of it. But I know what you mean with Homelander and a little bit with Peacemaker about the stiffness. Homelander is like especially bad though. It's just I don't know. He feels weird. I've played him a little bit now. He's I don't know, man. I
think it's probably just needs a little finesse, like as far as maybe some like block recovery and stuff. Not as far as like frame data, like you know his hit advantage or whatever, block advantage, but just the way the animations are supposed to complement that. I don't feel like maybe they just don't complement it very well, so it feels really kind of like rigid to me, kind of weird.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't know. I'm not too up to speed on the character specifics, but
me either.
Speaking of which, though,
did we even answer the question? What was the comment?
It was just pointing out that we have to pay a whole new game price for characters.
Oh yeah,
which we both agree with. And to be honest, I bought it. I'm part of the problem. So it is what it is, you know. Hopefully, going forward, they don't do the whole like you have to buy everything kind of idea. Like I hope that they get some feedback from this one time and don't do that again. But that's I'll
pre-order the day before and not a day sooner.
Yeah, just hold on to that. Hold on to that until as long as you can, Hatyr. You're doing God's work out here.
I'll just be complaining about it the whole time. Sons of bitches, here, take my money. I don't care. Shut up and take my money.
Whatever.
God damn it.
So a little bit of an update since the patch. I know that you've been working with some new things, some new characters and whatnot. Now that we've had a little bit more time since the patch has dropped, what do you think overall? Do you think this was a W update, you know, altogether? What are your thoughts so far, Hatyr? On I know you've switched characters now from Melina. You're kind of going away from Melina for the first time, I think.
Right. I've been talking about that for a while. Right, and I think I just decided nice clean cut for year 2. Right, just a different main for year 2.
Oh, there you go.
Or something is kind of like I guess I'll think about it. But I think the patch was a pretty big, capital bold, and italic W with an exclamation point after it. I feel like the game feels really solid the way that it did in the Ermac patch, which I feel like was the last golden era, our little short window where the game was just like, okay, here we are, and then it's like kind of got all effed up again. And then I feel like we're kind of like on the back end of that, and with Farah and Takeda, like they're officially on to content that we have not seen yet, right? Unless they've explicitly shown it to us, like at San Diego Comic-Con and stuff. Exciting. So I think they're in a good place mentally, and I think that the game is. How do you feel about the game? Are you playing the game differently than you were before the patch?
I think yes, I am, and I've kind of went into this hybrid mode of Quan Chi Motaro and Sindel Shujinko to kind of cover all my matchups. It's a shame that I can't do that in Combat League, so what I've basically been doing is just going to Quan Chi Shujinko, and I think Motaro doesn't work, because the idea is like, it's the best zoning pair in the game as far as I'm concerned, so the 850 health doesn't matter if they don't hit me. But there are some matchups where I can't run away, so that's when I need Sindel with 1100 health Shujinko that slaps.
It'd be great if we had character rankings, right? To where if you could just go from, you know, Apprentice to Elder God or whatever with Sindel Shujinko, and then you could do that a completely separate run, regardless of rewards or whatever. But you could at least do that with, you know, do it again with Quan Motaro, right? Without having to.
I would be surprised if we didn't see that at some point in the game's life, them coming up with something like that, because that's definitely something that they're missing that other games are doing. So
I know.
not that they
And
necessarily have to copy
it hurts, right?
No,
Right?
yeah, you're
Like
right.
when that's a big part of why people play the game like every day is that grind, and they don't. It would just give them more things to do, and it's what they want anyway. They create Heidi's so they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a new thing. People have been doing it since day one. So it's not like people haven't been saying it's something that we want. So hopefully, I mean, they only can do what they can do. There's still a lot that this game needs before it kind of gets to what I would think is an acceptable launch point. But you know, they're listening. They are doing their best, and they're putting stuff in that people have been asking for. One thing I've noticed is that outside of Tremor, all the cameos that have released have been like tippity top tier, you know, like Janet, Chameleon, Farah. Like Tremor is just kind of the lone low tier. I don't even say he's low tier. He has some stuff he can do and some things that, but he's definitely not on the level as the other characters.
I think his design, like what it is about him as a cameo that makes him unique, just does not fit the game overall or complemented overall as much as others do, right? So in a vacuum, he's quite good. Like on paper, he's like really, really good. But in application, like in real world scenario or whatever, he just doesn't fit into this game's economy very well, you know?
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
No, that makes sense. I mean, why use Tremor when you can use Chameleon, or who's still really strong, even though she got slapped a little bit, or Farah, who gives you 150 health. Even that in general is freaking crazy.
Chameleon got slapped enough that most people, she's definitely not a super meta pick. She's really, really strong, but it's definitely, if their goal was to encourage people to try other cameos, you know, so it's not 86%, you know, Chameleon every tournament and, you know, stuff like that. If that was NRS's goal, then I think mission accomplished, like how they got people off of Striker and Kano and, you know, things like that. Like you can see how they're kind of like molding it, like they're seeing, now that it's out to the masses and they're seeing the meta that develops, they're like, well, not quite. So what do we got to do? We're going to make this worse, but to compensate, we're going to make this better. That's common fighting game balance, I feel like. After all, it's their vision and stuff. I think that Farah's return, my biggest takeaway from this patch, personally, is that Farah is the best MKX newcomer, because I think she's super. I'm so glad she was a character that could round out year one, right? As rough of a start as it was and stuff like that. She's like the little celebration at the end, like, hey, we survived, we made it, or whatever. Like she's so feral, so savage, but so happy to be alive and always laughing and always like whatever. How much personality can they put into that little, you know, into like little Farah? So I'm so glad she's here. She's one of my favorite MK characters, and she's good.
I'm still trying to figure out what the new meta is. Like I've been watching tournaments and stuff, and I'm definitely seeing a spread of characters and cameos, which makes me really happy, because ideally in a fighting game everybody is viable. You know, you can use any character, any cameo, that kind of a thing. I think one of the ones I'm seeing the most is Ermac, though. Seeing a lot of Ermac, and I mean Ermac was good before, but again he was just kind of overshadowed by other characters like Homelander. Homelander's still good too, by the way. He's still got his crazy vortex, but I'm not sure if any sort of meta has been established yet, which usually it doesn't take long to establish those things. So it's kind of a good thing.
Well, there's some new contenders, right? Like there's a lot more Natara, and it's not just because of Farah.
No, but that team slaps. Fuck that team.
That team's a lot of people saying that's like a top 5 team in the game, right? Like this is like the new Tanya Goro, like you're just gonna see everywhere. Super, super, super strong. But even with other cameos, like Natara is finally a complete character. Like the vision of Natara is there now. It's complete. Like the way that, like, regardless of character strength, I'm talking about like all the, you know, all the strings being tied together and stuff like that. Like you can see in Quan's kit, even though he obviously has some weaknesses, right? But you can kind of see the overall design. Ermac, Takeda, or whatever. I feel like Natara is like kind of like on that level, sort of now, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of her, and that's who I'm gonna be playing. That's gonna be my year 2 MK character. Not with Farah though. Though every Natara should have a side Pharah, in my opinion.
I mean, the team's too good to not play. Like, it makes up for her lack of health. The damage she does is crazy. The amount of air
It's like
shenanigans
taking
you
the
get.
gloves off. Like, no more fucking around, right?
Yeah,
Overhead
exactly.
low, both combo starters, both half your health bar.
Yeah, and then she can get her health back on top of all of that. So, like, 150 extra health plus the ability to get her health back, depending on what you're doing. Plus all the damage that she's doing. Like, how do you kill this damn character? I'm a little salty about it. I got slapped, like, 4 rounds straight in Combat League last night by Natara Pharah. Like, I don't even think I had a chance to do anything.
Plus the pleasure of, you know, listening to Pharah scream the entire match.
Right?
Laugh and scream her off the stage or whatever.
Oh, man.
It's too funny.
Yeah. It's, so that team's going to be a problem. So you said you're not playing Pharah, though. Who, I already know, but for the audience, what pairing did you go with, and why?
I'm gonna play Frost. I try to make Frost work with every single character I tried. It's like almost at this point, it's the first cameo because I'm like determined to make her work with somebody, and I feel like the only character I've truly made her work with was Ermac, but the damage is so low,
Right.
that he just has better like with Janet and stuff around. Like, why would you do that? Like, if you want to play that way, it's like fun, but it just like can't keep up. But I feel like playing her with Natara is the first time I'm approaching it without like, okay, this isn't about ice orb setups, right? This is about capitalizing on the extra hit advantage when they get frozen by something to get up the blood ritual, guaranteed health wherever I want in that conversion, the EX version, draining your health at the same time. As I was kind of experimenting with stuff, it's like, okay, so the ice wall actually can give her side switch combo, so you're never at risk of like cornering yourself, or you can corner yourself, but if you have a half a cameo bar, you always have your way out, right? If you're converting.
Sure.
So it's like even like more mobile. It's just like so crazy. I feel like it's definitely not going to be like the most damage, but I think it will be a fun way to play. I don't mind sacrificing damage for flavor. You know what I mean?
I was a little underwhelmed at first by Frost's new ambush move, but the more that I see people putting it into use, the more I see how crazy it actually is. But at first, I was definitely lukewarm, and then like the changes to the scaling on the ball.
I'm right there with you.
So the change with the scaling to the ball too was huge. So I mean, the damage off that is crazy now. Like I was saying in my video yesterday that like Quan Chi gets 380 damage off a sky drop. Like that's actually crazy. So I mean, I feel like they definitely saved that cameo. She was largely ignored by everybody, and now I'm seeing her pop up. Not like to the extent of Pharah or like Janet or anything, but like she's definitely in the mix now, I think, and she has her spot.
I think you'll see her, and I think she'll be a hard cameo to main. If you're like somebody like Dink and you just want to play Shujinkydink and Quan in every matchup, sort of thing. Well, we see where we've gone now, right? But let's go back like 4 months ago or something. Frost is not one of those kind of cameos, in my opinion, but she's a good cameo to have, and then like a fallback like Pharah or Serena or something like that if you really needed it. Like, I mean, if there's stakes or something, and it's good to like, keep things changed up, but it's like a primary sort of thing. I think that's a fun way to play. I've had fun with it so far.
Yeah, I definitely will probably mess with it a little bit. It's too bad that she doesn't give you health, but I guess that would be maybe a little bit too much for her because that's
she does not give you health like at the start, right? But she's the one that gives you the ability to get like the guaranteed blood ritual, right? Just hit confirm into ice carpet blood ritual, carry on your combo. If you spent bar on the blood ritual, you're draining more of their life, getting more health, and you're buffed, right? So as soon as you do the air bite, you know, the air throw thing, you're getting like whatever health back, and you can put that right back into another blood ritual situation. You know, it just seems kind of fun, you know, to play and think about my health bar that way. Like I can never have more than 900 health, but by the end of say like a first to two, or let's just say like an entire game or whatever, maybe I'm actually like an 1100 health character or 1050 health character, right? My effective health. So
we had a couple of really funny moments yesterday with Mataro reflecting the frost ball. It caught us both
really
off
funny.
guard.
Yeah. That was really funny.
Like right in your face. I have that clip saved. I'll throw it on screen here so you can see it. But yeah, there was a few instances of that where it was just a funny interaction, you know. And I don't know, that was a lot of fun. It was just like a first to 10 we did or whatever. But it
Like,
was,
how can you even be mad, right? I
Yeah.
just like I laughed so hard. It's so funny. And it's like, that's my frost orb. That's mine. How did I recover into it? And it's funny because it happened off screen, even though we knew stuff like that could happen because there was some other silly business earlier.
Yeah.
But Frost brings that to match up, so that's part of like what makes her. It's a big like fun factor, even though it's usually a backfiring in your face.
I don't know. She
I
looks
like
fun.
Frost.
She's a cool design. What's her brutality? I don't think I've ever seen her brutality. I know she has one. I'm certain she has one, right? I think everyone does except for Shujinkydink.
Her brutal is off ice carpet, I'm pretty sure, and it does it like what a Melina Balro would do instead of ice. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
Her fatality is like the Natara fatality, the blood, the spit one, where you're just like a head and hands and feet, and the rest of you's a skeleton. That's what's so funny. That's what
weird.
her fatality is.
Oh man.
Anyway, so it's cool. Like blood and ice is a cool aesthetic. It's like what makes Sub-Zero cool.
I still think her ice sculpture fatality from MK11 was the best. That was she like puts the bomb in you and it blows you up into a big freaking snowman kind of a thing.
Yep. I agree. That one's super cool.
I would have loved to see that. I like the classic Frost design, but I hope she gets like an MK11 kind of cyborg outfit again. I thought that design was really cool. I mean, whatever you want to say for the lore, but I just thought the actual character design, she looked a lot cooler. Again, I
loved how her
classics,
down forward two. Her down forward two was her walking forward from the waist down, but from the waist up, she was spinning around over and over and over again, right? Just chopping away at you. Stuff like that looked really cool. They did a really good job with her design as far as like animations, her movement, and things like that. And I think that NRS is historically really good at that, which is what really stood out to me when we saw the new Sector and Cyrax. Remember I commented they look like Overwatch characters or something. That doesn't look like NRS, like how they would program something like a Frost or whatever, right? And I'm sure that's deliberate and gives them a certain energy or tone that they're going for. But if that tone was, you know, team shooter, you know, Apex, Overwatch, like sort of thing, then I guess they did it.
I remember my Overwatch days. I think I played that game for like 2 weeks. I'm not great with team games because I'm too critical of myself. Like I'm like,
I'm the scrub. I'm always the weak link, right? Every once in a while I get lucky or something, but it's almost always my fault. Even if I was on the other side of the map, it's probably because that's my fault because I was over there or something, right? I can't do anything right in those games.
I remember it was one of like the first games I had ever played, and I think I was playing Mercy at the time, and I can't remember. I was playing with Carl. I don't remember if you were there or not, but I talked about how like I was so excited because I got a kill, and it was like one of my first kills. I was like, I just got a kill, and Carl's like, you realize your whole team just died because you were trying to get a kill and not healing anybody. And I was like, oh, here I am all excited, and just like you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So at least in fighting games,
it's hard, but it's fun. The character designs are really fun. I like Symmetra. She's probably my favorite character in that game. I haven't played much of the DLC the last couple years. I played it like, it was like Fighting Pass 1. Like when Overwatch 2 first came out, or Overwatch.
Yeah, I played the first DLC.
Finger quotes 2. Right.
Yeah, I played the first DLC in that one, and that's kind of all that I played after that. But like in fighting games, like at least I'm only letting down me. I'm not letting down like a whole, crew of people I'm playing with at that particular time. And there's
right.
If you're part of like an org or a team or a clan or whatever, I get that too. But fighting games are just so much more independent, I guess. I don't get that like kind of.
I agree. It's bad enough coming from one person in a fighting game than it is 7 other people, because all of your opponents plus your entire team is shitting on you or like whatever.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not always like in them. And like I said, I'm always that guy. So I don't play like Dead by Daylight or anything like that either. The less I have to engage in online culture, the better.
Yeah.
So fighting games are perfect for that. It's like as minimal as it can get.
One-on-one, outside of our Monopoly family fun nights that gets pretty heated sometimes. We haven't done one of those in a while.
It does get pretty heated sometimes.
I got to bring that back. We do that in the Discord every once in a while. Link in the description. Patreon, $1.
I know. It's been like 2 years since we done that, probably.
We'll have to get the crew back together and some good old capitalism on a board, you know?
Good old fashioned American capitalism. What else did we have to talk about?
That Ed Boon interview. That,
that was also at San Diego Comic-Con.
Wasn't officially, like, posted anywhere. It was just, like, some person with a phone just taking it. And
it looked like a press table, you know, so there was a lot of people there. He looked like he was taking questions from multiple sources, and yeah, someone just recorded it and uploaded it to YouTube.
Yeah.
But all those quotes are probably in magazines somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure they plan on releasing something a little bit more official at some point in time. But I think, like, the main takeaway from that interview is that this game is going to be supported for years. Like, we're going into year 2, and he's talking about year 3, 4, 5, that kind of thing. So, like,
I agree.
It'll be interesting to see how they keep the ball rolling. But how
they keep things fresh, how they keep it interesting.
Yeah, like story expansions and stuff are cool, but like, how are you going to keep years of characters? Like, are we going to start seeing new characters? Are we going to be seeing like reimaginations of old characters? Are they?
They're going to have to slow. They're going to have to think of different sorts of DLC, right? It can't always be story and characters and stuff, right? We can't have a roster of 75 characters or something.
No,
I mean, I guess we could or something, but you can't just be doing that. The game's already big enough as it is. Like, how big is this DLC going to be? And like, by the time you were in year 3 or 4, it's like an entire terabyte just to download Mortal Kombat 1. Are you kidding me?
Right.
How are they going to optimize it and stuff?
I think that would, like, if they do get the roster bigger and stuff, like, that will kind of also deter newer people from trying it. That's the reason that I dropped Tekken, was like, I started playing
It's definitely harder to learn.
And then you look at all the matchups and you're like, I have to learn all of these matchups, and like, no thank you, and I'll just go back to whatever I was doing before, you know? So
right.
You gotta be careful getting too big, but I don't really know what else they would do for DLC that like would be interesting enough to be purchased. Like, obviously people like the characters, but like majority of like the fan favorites are in the game already. So like, are you going to be starting to put like more obscure
Where's some
characters?
of this NRS innovation, right? They need to give us something to do that is not playing Combat League and is not playing casual matches or just private matches with our friends. What else can we do? Or like a King of the Hill, right? We don't even have rooms yet, but even like beyond that, what can we do? Even like a for fun, non-competitive, like whatever, whether it's sort of like, you know, Tekken's got tournament brackets where you can kill time, or they got the whole, you know, Street Fighter Battle Hub and all that, which is, to take it or leave it. But there's not anything else like really to do. Give us something to do. What are some ideas of things that we could do just that's stupid, and who cares how fucking broke it is, right? Just like make it tag, replace your cameo with a roster character, and then you just choose 4 of their special moves or whatever that are the inputs. It's not even thought about, right? It's just something to do for dumb fun.
Yeah. I would love stuff like that. Like back in the 3D era days where you had motor combat and chess combat and like puzzle combat. Like,
how
bring back
sick
things
would
like
it be
that.
to have just like some, some like really not resource intensive, like we were just talking about, like Monopoly, right? But it's in Outworld, and so all the properties named after that, and it's the collector instead of the Monopoly man, or like whatever. Like, just do that, and then we could just, you know, I don't want to fight, but we're still playing the game, right? And we still have the premium store. It's just a click away. Yeah, but we're just chilling in Discord doing something that's not, you know. They should return to something like that.
That would be hilarious. A freaking Monopoly with like collector with the top hat and like community cards with a K.
With the fucking monocle and that mustache, the white mustache. They gotta do it.
Oh, that would be so good. I would love that. I would like. Would do you have like the Monopoly pieces be like the characters, or would you have them be something else, like Scorpion?
So what
Spear?
are our regular Monopoly pieces? This is off the cuff, right? Like, I don't know for sure. There's the thimble, and there's the race car, and there's the dog, and there's what else? The top hat.
Yeah, the top hat.
Right, the gentleman's cap. So that's only 4 things.
There's more.
But anyway, let's just say like 4 or 5. So it's like inanimate objects and stuff, right? So what could it be?
You could have like Shao's helmet, like Katana's
Shao's hammer that's missing from MK1, right? The legacy hammer. Okay, Shao Kahn classic hammer. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Okay.
You could have like maybe a couple of the Kamidogu or whatever. That might be interesting.
Maybe a little obscure in the modern era. Well, we'll see what happens to the expansion, right? Because it looks like Havoc might have something to do with that, but they haven't really established that in the NRS era yet.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Let's say, like, what's something else? Like, who's somebody's like skull we can use? Somebody that's dead. That it would be like obvious.
Like Su Hao.
Then we could do it like things like Kano's heart battery and Sonya's bracelet, or Cassie's 9mm.
You could weave that in with invasions too, because like you could like the key items that you selected in invasions. Maybe they have one season where they introduce this, and like all the key items that are invasions are the ones that you can play in Mortal Kombat Monopoly.
Here's the thing: secret fight unlocked. Like when you had to. If you have to sell something in order to pay rent for something that you just landed on, right? You unlock the secret fight, and then that fight you can get that money back. You roll the little dice, you pull your cards, see what collector says. Stuff like that.
Yeah, you could have you could have instances where you have to like battle other players to get like a spot or something like that. That would be you could weave that in maybe. I'm getting way too.
If you get sent to jail and there's somebody already in there, you have to fight. All right, but then we need like a fight mechanic. We need like something's got to happen. It's like the quick time event from the story where you're Baraka and you're like, "What the fuck do you want me to do?" Oh, I need to mash this button. Everybody in the world died to that poison at least once. I guarantee it. Right? Like, there's just no way.
Times.
So it's something like that. It honestly took me like 3 or 4 times. Because even like the second time, I was like, well, "What the fuck does it want from me?" And then it was obvious by the time. But yeah, that was definitely. I feel like a lot of people died to that poison.
Yeah, I have a lot of comments.
Let me know in the comments.
I have a lot of comments on my story mode of that chapter of people saying that exact same thing. Like I died so many times to that door.
Anyway, okay. So that's the idea. This is the vision, right? It'll have to be refined, but if you end up in jail and somebody else is already in there, it's
battle to the death.
It's like something like that, right? You're kind of like dropped into it, and it's not very clear at the very beginning
instead of
what you're supposed to do, and you have like 1 second to figure it out. Otherwise, you're dead.
Instead of jail, it's the Netherrealm. Like go straight to the Netherrealm. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 coins. Coins with a K, of course.
Yeah.
I'm getting way too excited for an idea that does not exist, that we've just curated in this moment. But hey.
We could make it. We could. It'll be a community effort.
That could be fun. I'm down for that. There's got to be some sort of custom Monopoly thing out there somewhere. But I don't know what.
I think it'd be easier if NRS just hired us.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
Can you give me a very modest salary, just to be an idea person, even if like 9 out of 10 out of them are like below average?
I'll just be the ideas guy. Give me a good salary, and I'll just spew ideas. I'm sure that's got to be a position.
Well, when you put it like that, I would expect other. I can be the guy that makes sure that the patch notes include everything. How about that? That can also be a job responsibility.
Hey,
that's not even a dig at anybody, right? I'll be happy to do that.
A proofreader. A glorified proofreader.
Yeah, just got to take inventory and everything, which means that I got to be talking to all the teams, which is just an excuse to kind of like check in and see all the cool shit everyone's working on anyway. Well, while I'm here, what are you doing, right? I'm cross-referencing and making sure, right. Like whatever. It'd be almost like a project manager thing. So they wouldn't even be listening to my ideas. But anyway.
We got hella sidetracked on the main topic of Ed Boon's interview. But because I have one big glaring question about it that I'm curious. What is going to happen with Injustice? That's always been kind of like the elephant in the room, Like if they're going to be supporting this for years down the road, what are Injustice fans looking forward to? Like, are they going to release Injustice alongside Mortal Kombat and just them both be existing?
Yep.
That would actually be pretty sick, and I think the best of both worlds if they can manage that workload, because I think as Mortal Kombat ages, there's going to be probably like less and less stuff, even though they're still adding stuff, but then they can kind of shift more of the focus towards Injustice and then have both of those games, because the more things that come out, the more that I'm like, this feels really Injustice-y, so I don't know.
And it's more variety, and you're splitting your own player base between two games that you own, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like if they get Mortal Kombat 1 to a place that it can kind of like just exist sustained with, you know, things, it still gets things from time to time, but it's like out of the heyday of like, hey, here's 6 DLC characters and and things like that, right? But people still want to play it, and it's still like whatever. And then Injustice comes out, you know, and say 70% of the player base goes to play that, 30%, you know, stays behind, and by the time it goes on sale, those 30% go to check it out, but people are already back on MK1 because they're salty at Injustice 3 or like whatever. But it's like your same players, and who knows, and then people that just like to play, but it's probably even amount, people that just prefer one or the other. But I feel like if they could keep both games alive at the same time, that would be super, super sick.
I think that would be the ideal situation for everyone involved. Because although there is like a crossover in player base, there are players who definitely prefer one over the other. I found that like even though Mortal Kombat like outsold Injustice and is like a more established series, I found that Injustice had what felt like a much larger player base of people who played the game regularly.
Comics transcend, and it's a lot more appeal, right? Because it can't be as violent, not so much blood and stuff, way less restrictions, so it's just like a broader audience by default.
Yeah,
even though it was a little dark, right? Like ripping hearts out and stuff, and
there was this fair share of violence in there for sure. I mean, in the first Injustice, Shazam gets yeeted by Superman. So I mean, well, spoilers for a 12-year-old.
When my nephew was like 4, he saw that Joker intro where he was using the dead policeman's head as like a puppeteer sort of thing, and it gave him nightmares. So it's got like, it's like dark moments for sure for real young ones.
Which is, I mean, like the fans like me for Mortal Kombat, because obviously I'm a Mortal Kombat fan first and Justice fan second. You know, I like those nods to different franchises, and there's lots of people that are going to say, like, you know, like, get your Mortal Kombat out of my Injustice and vice versa kind of a thing. But I don't know, I like seeing those two kind of intertwine, you know, like almost like a MKDC type of a thing, which I wonder if they'd do that kind of thing. You know, you think they'd ever like bring back? I mean, obviously there's the whole gore aspect to it, so I don't really know how they would do that.
I think a versus game would be like really cool. Oh, so this actually ties into the Ed Boon interview, something that I thought was super interesting that he said, because they were talking about licensing issues, right? So this is totally on brand, right? Because they were talking about, like, is it hard to license certain guest characters, right? Because they don't want to see their characters mutilated and killed and stuff like that, right? That's what people always say. Like, that's why you don't see like Batman and stuff like that. And he's like, you might be surprised, but it's actually the opposite. They're more concerned with how their character kills somebody else, right? That needs to be within the confines of the characters, a choice they would make or something they would do, and not, you know, too crazy if it's not like they have say into things like that. He's like, we listen to them too. Like, they'll come back to us and say like, hey, after this brutality, his fist needs to be raised like 2 inches, you know, and it'd be like,
what?
You know, okay, and so they just do it, right? Just like to make him happy, right?
Sure.
But he's like saying they listen to it, right? They listen to them, they've got input and stuff. But he said, I thought that was super funny. So it's not about their characters being killed by others; it's how they're killing other people. That seems to be the concern.
Yeah. I mean, as far as licensing goes, like the likeness of like John Cena and Homelander, do the actual actors themselves give any like say into that? You know, I would imagine you'd have to, you think, but I mean, if they're buying the license from a company that owns the likeness to that character, at what point does the actor actually give up that likeness? And it's just like, okay, you're gonna have to see yourself get dismembered in this game.
Well,
like, oh,
yeah,
I guess.
I think that Peacemaker, voiced also by John Cena, means that John Cena went to Chicago and he did the motion capture and all that sort of stuff too. The fact that it is not Anthony Starr's voice makes me think that it's an Arnold situation from Terminator 2, which means that they did not take it from like you know, scan the person to get their likeness. They probably used assets that the studio gave them that they already had on record from like movies and things like that, right? And then the TV show, so they probably like worked with that plus whatever references and things. I would gather, again, that's I don't fucking know, like that's just my imagination. But
if there's anyone out there that has a little bit of the insider information, I'd be interested to know. And also thanks
So
for
the point is that John Cena would have had to know going in, right? He's probably like, yeah, that's no problem at all, right? Where
for sure.
Tony Stark can been like, okay, that's actually fun. Like, I don't want to see that shit, right? I didn't agree to even be in there in the first place. It's just part of me signing my soul away to the devil, at Amazon, and they made the decision whether he wanted to be in it or not. Maybe
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. It's just something that I was kind of curious about. So I'm just excited that they're going to keep supporting the game, because when they first got bought by WB, and then MK9 came out, and then Justice came out, and then MKX came out, and then Justice 2, and everyone's like, they have this 2-year cycle, and there's like the game gets to a certain point and then just dies. There's no reason to go back to it. So I feel like there's a group of people that were saying like, just support your game for longer, and like some of the other games that like Street Fighter 4 went on for freaking ever, like almost 10 years. It felt like that game was like relevant for, and like different iterations.
Yeah,
of it,
like 8 or 9 years for Street Fighter 5 and stuff after Tekken 7, 10 years if you include the arcades.
Yeah, so I mean, people want to see them go more like that, and I guess them doing that is maybe releasing the game in kind of a less finished state, which is unfortunate because I don't remember those other games doing that. But if that's what it takes to get the support down the line, I mean, this game's been out for a year, and I still have a lot of fun playing it. Like we were, laughing and giggling away in our set yesterday. And I feel like
I know I have my moments of fun for sure. It's definitely possible. I agree, it's definitely possible, and I try to stay open-minded. You
gotta be, be critical, but not like super.
You just kind of like. You can't be, like I was saying yesterday in a Discord call, right? Like, you can't keep getting mad about the same stuff is never going to change, right? Like, if you already know, like, you just have to, like, accept it, right? That can't be a part of, like, why you're getting mad. You can get mad at, like, new things or things that are supposed to be, you were told they were a certain way, but they didn't get fixed or, like, whatever. All, like, legitimate sorts of things, but...
Yeah, you kind of accept the monster, right?
I'm trying not to complain for the sake of complaining, just because I feel like dumping on something in MK1 is easy to dump on,
It is
or
easy.
a character or a matchup or like whatever. I want to go sorry, so like don't you dare call me optimistic, but definitely less cynical, like just unreasonably cynical.
Hatyr and optimism? Come on now. 2 words in the same sentence.
I just even-minded, right? And that's where I'll stay.
Well, that's a good happy medium to have, especially when the state of the game and all the things that are coming out. I feel like there's kind of going to be a bit of a slow period here, kind of within from now until the release of the kind of DLC in September. So I'm not really sure what kind of action we're going to see, if anything, on the forefront. If they're going to kind of maybe release a couple smaller little story trailers or little things.
I'm sure leading up to it. Yeah, because they're going to want that last wave of pre-orders and stuff, right? They're definitely the marketing I would expect to start. What's its release date? Probably 30 days before the release date. It comes out in like the middle of September or something, right?
Yeah, probably around the anniversary of the release. Would make sense.
We got Farah and Takeda in the middle of July, the last part of July. Nothing in August and nothing for the first half of September, which is 3 characters at the same time, plus a story mode.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Shades of like that Aftermath and stuff. They did that too, right? It was like
sure,
Rain and Shiva and like whatever. Like it just at once, it was like I like being gated into characters. So if I'm going to learn I don't want to learn 3 matchups at the same time, not 3 new matchups, right? So just one at a time, please.
Please, one at a time, but. That's not what's happening. We're getting. They haven't told us whether. Have they said whether they're releasing them all at the same time or if they're staggering them like they did with. I don't know if they specify that.
No, all 3. The Mortal Kombat characters are coming out on day 1. Noob, Sector, Cyrax are coming out on release day, and then the guests are TBD.
Gotcha. So they'll probably do a timed thing with the guests, I would imagine, similar to what they did with Combat Pack 1.
Yeah, like a month, every other month or something, and we'll see what happens when they run out of invasion seasons and stuff too, right? If they're just going to start over again.
Oh yeah.
So now's your chance if you missed it from the Scorpion season, dude. That's going to be flashbacks. I'm going to be shell shocked going in there in that Scorpion season,
right?
Remembering how that was That's the days where invasions were
That was the
particularly
dark
bad,
days.
right? The first one, the super
The
dark, days.
Oh man,
I start seeing those skins again. Like, no, I can't, brother. I'm skipping this season.
I can't, brother.
No.
I will say that this season of Invasions was probably the most enjoyable one yet. I just able to like speed run all the way to the end in like 3 hours, and I was like just done. And now I'm having fun going back and doing all the optional stuff. You know, it was they did well.
They're definitely finding that balance of not making it feel like a chore, but you're kind of like committed to it, right? To get something done. Like you need like a little bit of time, but it's not like before. And what I like about being able to skip all of that sort of stuff is that and then they throw in like, hey, double XP this weekend, and it's like, well, shit, I'm still like 5 levels away on this character that just started. Like, so I've got Hatyr at like 25 or something. Right. So it's a character that I want to unlock stuff for, and I've got all the shit that I can go do in there and get the full XP for it because I skipped it like on my first time through there.
Yeah.
So just go back that way and just milk some XP, even though it's probably still more efficient just to go through the regular towers. But it's just a reason to go back for like the skins I didn't care about or like whatever, and just try to get some.
I'm a bit of a collector completionist kind of a thing. I really get that FOMO if I don't unlock everything. So I try and get through as much as I can, unless it's something like I really don't actually care about. But I do enjoy just unlocking things, even though if it's stuff I'll never use. Just like if I'm beating up an opponent or something, I'll just go in and I'll dress them up to make them look kind of cool while I'm beating them up, even though I'll never actually play them. It's just kind of how I am.
Every character on the roster, whether I play them or not, has a very specific outfit. Like I definitely play dress up for sure.
It's fun, and although it's not as detailed as it has been in previous games, I still think it's a good balance. It's enough to keep me interested in like going in there and checking out all the palettes and that kind of a thing. And I'm sure
that would be fun to do sometime. Compare character outfits, right, side by side. Whether it's the podcast or something else, or maybe a community thing for the podcast or whatever. Get like 3 or 4 people, so you got the screen in quarters, right? And everybody's character select on there, and everyone. All right, let's see what your Ermac looks like, and then. You'll get roasted.
That would be kind of cool.
I'm sure.
I am famously have just the ugliest concept of fashion. Like whenever I'm dressing up my characters, that would be another cool
if there's one single comment about that idea, then I'm using it as confirmation bias, and we'll just do it on the next podcast.
We'll do the if you want to see the Mortal Kombat fashion show, let us know. Well, we can go first, and like maybe we'll show off our most used characters or something, or characters we will never use, and just I'll dress them up specifically for that, and everyone can rate them, and then we'll have people send theirs in. That could be fun.
And that could be fun.
The last kind of thing I wanted to tie in here is like, given that there's more content coming, do you think they'll do any tie-ins with the Mortal Kombat movies? Because Ed Boon did tweet out a picture of Katana's fan, and he was like, I can leak things too. He's talking about the Mortal Kombat movies. So you think they'll ever do a tie-in with those, or keep those just completely separate?
I think that they will, the way that they're doing like skins and stuff. I don't know about like premiere skins like a Dimitri Vegas or something like that. It didn't seem, when the first movie came out, Ed Boon and NRS, they were like really silent about it, right? Everyone thought it was weird that they weren't promoting a movie for their own IP. Like it seemed like they weren't involved at all, and they probably weren't asked, or they read that script and said, "What in the fuck, Arcana? What?" And they were like, "Well, we're rolling with it." And who knows what happened, right? But it didn't. But like right before COVID, Ed Boon was in Australia, like on set, right? He was tweeting stuff like that. I remember that, like right before lockdown, that was happening. So I think maybe for Mortal Kombat 2, there was some amends that were made, or they involved them a lot more. He was on, he's on the set like George R. Martin's on them. Maybe he's got a production credit or something, right? Making sure shit makes sense, and or he's at least there to bounce ideas off of if they don't know, or like how something would look in Outworld or whatever. So it seems like that's gotten better. So I would expect maybe, dude, I am a Sub-Zero main. You give me a Joe Taslim Sub-Zero skin, I'm a Sub-Zero main. The day that I can spend $10 on that.
He did kill that role, I will say. He did. Sub-Zero so good in that movie.
If you watch Warrior, watch The Warrior. It's on Netflix now or whatever. Yeah, that's the first thing I ever saw him in. He's very good. So I was really excited about him in Mortal Kombat because I knew him from that.
I really hope we don't see Cole Young, though. Fuck that character. I mean, I get that he's like the audience plant or whatever, but like just keep him to the movies. You know, if you're gonna have movie skins for give him for the characters, but I don't want to see him added into Mortal Kombat 1 at all.
I feel bad for the actor because he's like really so psyched about that role, right? And he tries to do so much promotion for the movie and stuff, and people just hate his character, and it's nothing to do with him.
No,
or even just the character. It could be any character. Just the fact that it exists, right? That they just had is almost like they had the hubris to create their new thing just to wedge in here to try to explain to us a universe that we already know, right? You're the one that needs to execute to like, you know, to. I don't know. I think it was like a misfire for sure. And I feel like Louis Tran, I think is his name.
Yes.
But if they could do something else for him, do you know what would be fucking sick? Because the suit is kind of, you know, he's kind of got the solid metallic sort of suit, and even though it like grows on him. But if they do, again, if they want to do like movie skins or something and get the voice actors in there, so Joe Taslim for Sub-Zero, they should do a Cole Young or at least do Louis Tran, like his face and his voice for Takeda. Because I feel like the suit could be like similar or something. I think that would be cool.
That's a nifty idea. I never really thought of that. I thought about like maybe if they just delete the fact that like just ignore the fact that Cole Young even existed in the first one and just make the second one and like Cole Young, who are you talking about? It's Johnny Cage. Like what the hell?
Right.
But
yeah.
I don't know.
Natara was so cool. Now give me that Natara MK1 movie skin. I'm sad they killed her. I don't think she'll be in the second one.
No.
But Natara looked sick. And of course, that was before MK1 came out. And it's like, man, if Natara's in this game, I hope she looks like the movie. But they gave her that pixie haircut. But the other skin kind of looks like the movie a little bit. The hair looks more similar anyway. She looks more like a gothy vampire, which is good enough for me, you know.
I'm curious to see what they do with Quan Chi, because it's pretty heavily rumored he's supposed to be in the second movie. I hope they don't try and recreate the reel with him or anything like that. He just as classic to him as you can, with maybe a little bit of a movie twist.
I wonder what his voice going to sound like. How are we going to have a Quan Chi in a real life depiction with a voice like that? And how am I supposed to take him seriously? Like, I'm curious how he's going to sound, because he can't just sound like a regular person, but he can't sound like a cartoon character either, which is basically all his MK depictions. So what are they going to do?
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, yeah, and it works in the Mortal Kombat games, but like in the movies, I don't know if it would work that well. But
it's gonna sound like Ernie from Sesame Street, like, "Hey, Bert."
What?
Hey, Scorpion.
Oh my god, I haven't laughed
before. I don't even know what the voice is. I'm just, dude, that would be so funny.
Oh,
dude, I'll buy 10 movie tickets if that happens. I'll tell all my friends to go.
I would. Ernie from. I can't. Oh my god, or like Garfield or something. You know, I can't even do it.
Dude, Quan Chi is first, like, he's introduced, right? Big ominous. Quan Chi steps in, or like whatever, opens his mouth for his, you know, first phrase, and we're all just there for it, right? And he's like, "I hate Mondays."
I hate Mondays.
Hell no. Somebody's got to case the Monday.
Oh my god.
I like it. Come on, Quan Chi, cheer up. We know you like lasagna. The NetherRealm special.
The NetherRealm special lasagna. Oh, just picturing Quan Chi just sitting down with like a fork and like a knife and just eating lasagna.
Like, blow on it first, Quan Chi. We don't want you to burn your mouth. I know you don't like it when that happens.
Oh my god,
it's out of control. How long have we been recording?
I'm dead. We went over it. We went over everything. We covered everything. We talked about Ernie and Garfield voices.
Yeah, I feel delirious. I feel like I feel sleep deprived or something.
This episode is a fever dream. I swear, we went all over the fucking map with this thing, but y'all stuck with us, so thank you very much. I appreciate it a lot. And as always, if you enjoy this, please leave a like, because it really helps me out, and subscribe if you haven't, because we make new videos almost every single day. Hashtag Bonehawks, all that stuff. And we'll see all you Bonehawks in the next video.
Accept your death.